Someone you love just lost their job, or their relationship ended, or they got a diagnosis nobody wanted to hear. And someone else in their life says, cheerfully, everything happens for a reason. Just stay positive. Good vibes only. Something about that response feels wrong, even if you can't quite name why. And here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of people think that's what Stoicism teaches. Suppress the bad feeling. Slap a calm face over it. Move on. It's not. It's actually closer to the opposite. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to explain the difference to anyone who confuses the two, because confusing them isn't harmless. One of them heals people. The other one quietly makes them feel worse while looking like help. Let's define the thing we're contrasting against, because it matters. Toxic positivity is the belief, often well-meaning, that negative emotions should be minimized, avoided, or replaced with positive ones as quickly as possible. Its core message, underneath the cheerful language, is, this feeling is a problem, and the fix is to stop having it. It shows up in phrases that sound supportive but function as a door closing. It could be worse. At least you still have, just don't think about it. Here's what all of those have in common. They ask the suffering person to do the emotional labor of feeling better immediately for the comfort of whoever's listening. The pain becomes an inconvenience to be resolved rather than an experience to be understood. And the research on this is fairly consistent. Suppressing or denying negative emotion doesn't make it disappear, it tends to make it stronger. Toxic positivity doesn't process pain. It just hides it from view. Now here's where the confusion happens, because Stoicism does talk about controlling your emotional response. On the surface, that can sound like the same instruction. Don't feel bad. It isn't. Read what the actual Stoics wrote, and you'll notice something toxic positivity never does. They name the pain directly, first, before doing anything else with it. Seneca wrote entire letters to grieving friends. He didn't tell them their grief was invalid or that they should simply move on. He acknowledged the loss as real and significant, and then examined how to carry it without being destroyed by it. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire during plague and war, filled his private journal with entries about frustration, exhaustion, and disappointment in himself. He wasn't performing calm for an audience. He was working through real difficulty and writing because the difficulty was real. The Stoics never claimed hardship doesn't hurt. They claimed something more specific, that how you respond to the hurt is where your power actually lives. That's a completely different claim than don't feel the hurt at all. Let's put this next to each other directly, because the distinction is precise, not vague. Toxic positivity says, this feeling is bad, get rid of it, replace it with a positive one immediately. Stoicism says, this feeling is real information, examine it clearly, then decide what to do with it. Toxic positivity treats negative emotion as the enemy. Stoicism treats negative emotion as neutral data. Toxic positivity often comes from other people's discomfort with your pain. They want you to feel better so that they can stop feeling the discomfort of witnessing it. Stoicism asks something only of you, to look honestly at what you're feeling and why, without flinching and without performing. Toxic positivity skips straight to the forced silver lining. Stoicism does something slower and harder. It asks what part of this situation is actually within your control and channels effort there. That last point is the one people miss most. A Stoic can say this is genuinely terrible and still function well. Toxic positivity has no room for this is genuinely terrible at all. That sentence isn't allowed to exist in its vocabulary. This isn't just a semantic argument. It changes how you should actually respond to yourself and to other people. If a friend comes to you in pain, toxic positivity has you reaching for a phrase that shuts the conversation down fast. Stoicism, practiced correctly, has you sitting with the discomfort long enough to actually hear what happened before offering any kind of framing at all. If you're the one in pain, toxic positivity teaches you to distrust your own emotional signals. to treat sadness or anger as a personal failure you need to hide. Stoicism teaches you to trust that the emotion is telling you something true, and then to get curious about what you're going to do with that information. One of these approaches builds people who are quietly exhausted from performing okay-ness they don't feel. The other builds people who can hold real pain and still function, not because the pain wasn't real, but because they never had to lie about it in the first place. So the next time someone offers you a just stay positive instead of actually listening, you'll know the difference. That's not Stoicism. That's avoidance wearing Stoicism's reputation. Real Stoic practice starts by looking directly at what hurts, naming it honestly, and only then asking what's yours to do about it. Feel what's actually there, then act on what's actually yours to act on. That's the whole difference, and it's the whole practice. I'll see you in the next one.